The Westward Expansion Project by Joseph and Peter. Hi guys, I'm Joe and this is Peter, and I just wanted to say thank you to Peter for helping me with the research and the slides. Thanks, Peter. America, the Transcontinental Nation. That is what we're going to be talking about today, and if you don't like to learn, oh well, I'm going to teach you this anyways. So I have 4 questions that I will be using today, 3 focus questions and 1 big question. Of course, the answer to the focus questions will be combined into the answer for the big question. Now that we got that covered, let's go to the big question. So for the big question, I had to create one that the answer would hold lots of information. These included, but are not limited to, the Lewis and Clark expedition, westward expansion, the influences on other countries including ours, the effects on other countries including ours, and of course, how it made the USA a transcontinental nation. Calm down, Peter, we are not going to the Wild West, we're just going to talk about it. So I took this information and some more, and I put them into a question that would help me figure out what they were. This is what I got. How did America and its choices, including the Lewis and Clark expedition, westward expansion, and the Indian Removal Acts, influence the United States and contribute to it being a transcontinental nation? And how does it affect all countries, including the USA? What were the good and bad effects? So now that we have that done, let's go to focus question number 1. So for our focus question, we of course had to focus on one part of the big question, and so we are going to put our attention on the Lewis and Clark expedition. Now when we made the question, we had to make it so that the answer would support the big question, and so we created this. Why did we have the Lewis and Clark expedition, and what happened? So thanks to a little thing called history.com, our main resource, we will be able to find the information to the answer to this question, and we got this. Number 1, the expedition was approved by a 3rd president, President Jefferson. So at the time, President Jefferson had made a treaty with the French who owned the Louisiana Territory, which was humongous. We were going to buy New Orleans because it was a great economic spot on the map and it would make the country stronger. Luckily, Napoleon Bonaparte ended up needing money for his war and offered us New Orleans and the Louisiana Territory for $15 million. So after finding a loophole for the land because the president couldn't buy the land, he made a treaty with France giving them $15 million for the land. But after buying it, President Jefferson sent out Meriwether Lewis and William Clark and a crew with them, which leads to number 2. The plan was to find out whether the land was useful for getting materials and farming. So President Jefferson needed to find out what was out there so that he knew what to do with the land, and so that they can know what to expect when going. This is why they left, and it's also going to lead us to number 3. Lewis and Clark traveled 8,000 miles. So when they left, they had gotten help from Charbonneau and his wife Sacagawea to travel through that land. They used the tube for translation in the Native American tribes that were throughout the West. After such agreements, they would search the land when allowed, and that would lead us to our number 4. They collected materials to study and determine the uses for the land. When they searched the land, they would take some samples and note much of what they noticed. This was to decide the best possible use or uses of the land. This would be very important for number 5. They blazed the way for the westward expansion. After deciding such uses, they would have sent the people there because they would also know what was good out there. And it's also my belief that if the land wasn't useful, then it would probably been sold to another country. Lastly, it was the beginning foundation of the USA as a transcontinental nation. Because if there was no westward expansion, then there couldn't be a transcontinental nation. Because no one could be in the West, and that's that. So now that we have that done, I combined it and got this. We had the Lewis and Clark expedition because we were trying to see whether the land bought from France was able to be used for farming or trading, or even if it had livable conditions. To fulfill this goal, Lewis and Clark studied and noted samples of the environment, explored how far the land was, and of course, this was successful, and started the westward expansion. Now that we have this done, we should go on to our focus question number 2. So again, for the focus question number 2, we have to focus on something. This time, we focus on the westward expansion. So the question again would be the same format as the other one, and so I came up with this. Why did we have the westward expansion, and what happened in it? So again, thanks to history.com, we were able to find the information for the answer. this time I brought a little friend, Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud is here to tell the viewer what he thinks of the information he learns. He will also be spoken through me, and trust me, he will sound weird. But anyways, are you ready, Mr. Cloud? Well, that's great. Let's go. Number 1. Millions of pioneers looking for a better life with land ownership and more left to the west. Left to the west. So what do you say about this, Mr. Cloud?
Of course, it makes sense. Let's travel across the continent through scorching deserts, wet marshes, and dangerous mountains. And if we survive, we can start farming. Yay!
Mr. Cloud, while you do bring up a good point, you must remember that the pioneers weren't the working class before they moved, and that they considered the thoughts of land ownership and what came with it as freedom. So knowing that, we can assume that they would feel that freedom is important, especially with America offering it with their amendments, and that they would want to move there because of freedom. That's why it's important. Now for number 2. The economy of farming and trading was boosted. So what do you want to say now, Mr. Cloud?
Yeah, sure. I bet the East was better.
Okay, Mr. Cloud. The East was making a name for themselves, especially in the industrial economy, but the same was with the West. The East made things, but the West was growing new plants, farming, ranching, and lead mining, which the world wanted. In fact, other countries wanted to buy from us, which would lead to number 3. Other countries found America as a beneficial trading asset, seeking American herbs and materials. What now, Mr. Cloud? What do you want to say?
Yeah, looks like Britain needs us.
Oh, Mr. Cloud. This is not supposed to be about opinion, but what you said, in my opinion, was wrong. See, the other countries were doing well without America, and one way or another, they would still prosper. Now to the facts. While Britain did buy from us, other trading countries like China would also buy from America for, of course, herbs and materials, trading things like their famous silk and spices. So with that, the effects had spread everywhere, turning America into the beneficial asset on your side. And now, number 4. It played a big role in America becoming a transcontinental nation. Please don't say you have anything about this, Mr. Cloud.
Nope.
See, even Mr. Cloud agrees. It wouldn't be a transcontinental nation because no one would be in the West, and no states would appear. This is why it wouldn't be possible. So again, Oh, Mr. Cloud, you're leaving. Well, bye. We'll probably never see him again. Oh well. So, I combined the information again and I got this as my answer. People moved across the continent because they wanted a better life, and the opportunity to farm or ranch was great there and promised them the better life they wanted. When the settlers stopped, they started ranching, farming, and lead mining, causing the economy to grow in the USA due to other countries wanting to trade for the materials. These countries like China found us as a beneficial trading partner and started trading expensive materials with theirs for ours. Of course, this led to America becoming rich and the economy booming everywhere. It also was when America started becoming a true transcontinental nation. As the people moved west, more states appeared. Now, with that done, let's go on to our third focus question. So again, we focused on a different part of the big question, and we did, this time, the Native American Removal Acts. We again made a question that, when answered, would be irrelevant to our big question, and here's what we got. Why did we have the Indian Removal Acts, and is it bad or good? So, again, we used history.com, and we figured out the answer. And so let's go. Number 1, the acts were signed by President Andrew Jackson. So at this time, President Jefferson was out of the picture, and President Jackson was in. He was our 7th president and ended up signing the acts in his term. These acts led us to number 2. The acts allowed the president to move Indians off land where people wanted to grow cotton. This was because during the westward expansion, cotton farmers came and they saw the land Native Americans had and wanted it for cotton farming. So being that he felt the land should be used for cotton farming, Andrew Jackson signed the acts to send people away from the land that they had for generations and relocated them to the west of the Mississippi River. Which brings us to number 3. Thousands died in the Trail of Tears as they left. So, during the relocation, they traveled a trail, which they named the Trail of Tears after the relocation. This was because as they moved, they faced so much difficulty in the relocation that thousands died through it. Which will bring me to my fourth and final point. In my opinion, it was the wrongdoing of the president and was unconstitutional of the country. I think this because it was morally wrong to send someone away from their land, which they had for generations, when they did nothing to America except help. It also is unconstitutional because they did not pay most tribes what they deserve. Most of the tribes fought back, and that should already say that they needed to be given more or treated better, but instead they forced them off. So that was the end of that one. That one was very, very quick because you could already see the effects. But let's continue. I combined the information again on top of this one, and here's what I got. The Indian Removal Acts were an effect of the Native Americans from the westward expansion. President Jackson signed these acts to allow the president to remove any Native American tribes off their land and to the west. It was a dangerous walk for the natives, and many died in the travel. This took place because as people moved westward, the mindset of cotton farming took place, and white settlers saw the land tribes were on to be better for farming, and so the unfair and unjust tax took place, as President Jackson was one of those people who thought that way. The acts, in my opinion, were wrong and were a case of how not only the U.S. and other countries were affected, but other people who had nothing to do with this were affected too from westward expansion. So now we finish this. Lastly, this is going to be the big question. So the big question states, how did America and its choices, including the Lewis and Clark expedition, westward expansion, and the Indian Removal Acts, influence the United States and contribute to it being a transcontinental nation? And how does it affect all countries, including the USA? What were the good and bad effects? So after combining all of the different answers for the focus questions, we were able to figure out the answer. And here is what I got. America's choice of the Lewis and Clark expedition, signed by President Jefferson, was to find out whether the land that America bought from France is useful. It also started a significant startup for the choice of westward expansion, which eventually led to America becoming a transcontinental nation. When the choice was made for westward expansion, it was mainly due to get a better economy, though for impoverished people, it was mainly to get a better life, which came as a promise from farming and ranching in the West. Many effects had spread all around. For example, America's economy was beginning to grow as big trading countries like China started buying from America. This was great for America, but it also brought a lasting effect on other countries, as it made America a great trading asset to have. This was a good effect, but there were bad effects, such as the American choice of the Indian Removal Acts. The Indian Removal Acts was a wrong act done to push Native Americans off the land and taking the land for white settlers' use. The acts were impartial due to the westward expansion, as the mindset of becoming rich drove white settlers crazy. The craziness was to create a cotton farm and make money off of it. So being that the land was wanted by a president who believed the land should be given for cotton farming, the president signed the law to send Native Americans away from their homeland. Sadly, the move was harsh and thousands died in the transition. This was one of the big bad effects that also showed the effects weren't just for America and other countries, but also smaller tribes and organizations that sometimes had nothing to do with the westward expansion. But again, the westward expansion was good, as it did make America transcontinental, as when the people moved west, more states were made westward, and of course, they reached the other side of the continent and created a transcontinental nation. Okay, well, that's all I have today, and I am finished. I bet you guys are glad to hear that. So thank you for listening to our video, and we hope you enjoyed. I also want to say sorry for all the cringy jokes and just the cringiness in general inside of this video. And for my lisp, it's terrible. But other than that, I really hope that you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I'm done. Goodbye.